Well, first of all, you can call me Lady Leah.
Lady
That's
Leah, right?
that's my
Exactly.
stage name.
Yes, Lady Leah.
And I grew up in the Midwest in
Oh, okay.
Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Country girl,
Mm-hmm.
barefoot. We were like the original rascals, really.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
rascals.
So I grew up in a small town, lots of family around, lots of music and performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was a singer. My mom was a singer too, but she was busy herding us.
Mm-hmm.
And so my father, being the minister of music at our church, would have us to back him up when we would sing in the church. So that's how I got started
Ah,
in
okay,
the
because that
music.
kind of morphs into my next question
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
where and when did this get started?
yeah. We
So
got
you just grew
started.
up into it.
I grew up into it.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, we were very poor
Mm-hmm.
growing up. And so one of the churches that my father used to sing for gave him an old beat up piano. They were getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, definitely. Well, we were so broke that we didn't even have television.
Right.
But my father would play the piano in the evenings with the kids. There's four of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our entertainment. That was our entertainment.
Wow.
My mother and father both worked different shifts because they couldn't afford a babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother worked nights, my father worked days. So at nighttime, my dad would fix our dinner, and then we'd get around the piano. And,
Nice.
little silly songs, kid
Yeah,
stuff.
but the thing is that unfortunately we've moved so far away from that.
Yes. Yes.
If kids even speak to their parents because they have their phones,
Mm.
their faces planted in their phones all the time.
It's a tragedy
Yeah, it's kind
of
of scary.
communications. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tragedy, I think, for all families.
Mm-hmm.
We used to actually have family meetings every week.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just be about, okay, what's happening in your life?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with you? I heard about this situation. Checking in with each other.
Or
and then
even
we'd have
having
dinner.
dinner together. Exactly.
Yes, we'd have dinner together.
Yeah.
And even my own family,
Mm-hmm.
my children are grown now, but we would have dinner together and watch, Martin or something on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was every night. That was our touch base.
And you have to touch base.
You have to.
Because that's the whole point of family.
And it's a part of our sanity.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's our culture.
Yes.
And,
yes.
That's the first thing they always attack.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I heard one analyst say that the biggest tragedy in the Black culture right now is lack of family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like we've been dispersed.
Mm-hmm. Our marriage rates are down. Mm-hmm. I read an article when I first got divorced. I was like, I moved to Harlem. I'm like, where are the brothers at? And there was an article in the Times that said brothers in that age range from like 25 to 45, they're missing because they're either dead or in jail. Wow. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty serious.
But then it also speaks to like a larger design.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
By design. Any way that they can oppress.
Absolutely.
And they are diabolical.
Back 100 years ago, seems like. My then husband was an actor. Mm-hmm. And he introduced me to some of the people that he worked with. And ironically, I always thought that I would just be singing and be behind the camera because I do some production stuff and directing. And one day somebody saw me and they're like, yeah, we want you in front of the camera. And that's how that took off,
And you do work.
I work.
I'm
so grateful. Yeah. I'm so grateful. And I've enjoyed a really fabulous career that's still happening. You know,
exactly.
I used to sell baby diapers and now I sell lady diapers, There's always in commercial work. Yeah. There's always some product that they need your demographic to be able to sell.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
But you just have the package that they're looking
for. Amen, brother.
And
all right.
Nothing wrong with that. So this is more of an existential question. What makes you sing?
I love music from a child, but I also like the visceral effect of music, and it's undeniable.
No idea
it's
what
undeniable.
It physically does to you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
people really don't understand.
People who are affected don't even know what it is that's affecting them until you help them to break it down and let them know those vibrations in those notes, that's vibrating, that's connecting with your energy, your electricity in your body. And it's just the most joyous thing when I'm singing. Oh my God.
And it's also one of those things where I kind of feel like it's the highest form of meditation.
I can agree with that.
Because especially when you're performing for an audience, because everything is so focused, and it's like I'm just talking to the angels.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And I love people's response. Yeah. I love what it allows people to do is kind of let down their you know the rebellious thing, or just to relax. Yeah. Just to relax and to enjoy. And I love seeing the smiles on people's faces when I'm singing. And I sing a lot of old songs. Yes. You know, I do covers, but I sing those songs that I grew up with. And people recognize them and they're like, oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. You know.
So what do you prefer to sing?
I like jazz. But I do a little contemporary stuff. I guess they would call that neo jazz now. You know, right. I love Dionne Warwick. Yes. I love singing her stuff. I didn't really get into Billie Holiday, you know, till I got older. You know, but Ray Charles, I love his stuff. The Doobie Brothers, Aretha Franklin. You know, those are the folks that my mother listened to when I was a child.
They were like the staples of all black households.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You had to have that
in your house. Yes.
And you're right. Billie Holiday was not one of them.
No. And that was another thing that was on purpose. Yeah. You know, they really tried to block her out. But she that message managed to get in there.
Way through.
Yes. And as I've gotten older, my voice has gotten deeper. I used to call myself a second soprano, and then I went to alto, and now I'm a contralto.
Oh, right. Which is nice and warm.
Yes.
Which I like the contralto voice. I really do.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a viola player, and the difference between the viola and the violin is that the viola is tuned 1/5 a tone lower. So it's more like the contralto of the mezzo soprano's voice. Yeah. Okay. And I actually like the sound of the viola better than the violin.
All right.
Because the violin, they have a joke that they kind of call them hysterical.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes they can get a little screechy.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So who are your inspirations?
Well, like I said, Dionne Warwick. I loved her stuff. Burt Bacharach. That's some of those songs. I've actually been working on an album dedicated to her, or at least a show. If I don't do an album, at least a performance, because I do a lot of cabaret style performances, not just singing in the background for a restaurant, which is cool too. I did that for a few years at Cherie Restaurant. Right. You remember Cherie?
Yeah. He just passed away.
Yeah, he passed away. I was really like surprised.
But I hadn't seen him around for a while.
Right. He had left New York just before COVID.
Okay.
Just before COVID. And he was in, I think, South America. And did a restaurant there and then went back to Paris. So, but that was such a wonderful experience. That was a wonderful experience. I really was able to grow and develop as an artist, and even be able to kind of, narrow my scope in terms of the songs that I wanted to sing. And
well, which is your preference? A club, a theater? Which do you feel more comfortable?
I kind of like the theater vibe because people buy tickets and they come and see you. Yeah, the place on 72nd Street, the Triad.
Oh, the Triad, yeah.
That kind of environment, not real big, kind of nice and small, but
I need distance from the audience.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that just comes from my history, my backup of singing in a lot of clubs in London and whatnot, where you had people in your face. And after a while, it's like, no, you need to be over there. there.
Do you do any theater and acting, that kind of stuff?
No. Acting is so not my thing.
Yeah. That's something that I think kind of helped nourish me and build me in terms of being able to deal with that audience right there.
Right.
Of course, they're closer than if you were on stage somewhere.
Right.
But it kind of prepared me for that.
Yeah, because when I first came back to New York, I did a lot of the clubs downtown, and people are like right in your face.
Yeah, they're right in your face.
And it's always the table that's right in front of you that makes the most noise.
I tell you that. And I did a lot of brunch gigs. That's what the Cherie thing was primarily brunch. But, the people, they would eat and then they would listen and then they chat a little bit. But it wasn't like the noise of, say, Red Rooster.
Right.
Because I've sang there too. And they have a beautiful new stage, by the way.
They do.
Oh, it's very nice, very nice. And I, my hat's off to them for even creating that space finally. Because a lot of restaurants don't.
Right.
Music is like,
it's like
an afterthought.
An afterthought, right.
And it's like, oh yeah, people do like live music, don't they? But I was in a situation with Cherie. I was there at least twice a week. And I remember hearing a customer come in one day that I wasn't singing. And they said, is Lady Leah singing today? And they're like, no, not today. And they turn around and walk out. They said, okay, we'll come back another day. So the music can make a difference. Yeah. That's
and then also I suffer from stage fright.
Oh, really?
Like terribly so.
I'm glad to hear somebody else say that because I used to suffer from stage fright and I still get nervous.
Yeah.
I still get nervous. I think that's kind of good to keep you on your toes. But the first time that I sang in public, this was now going back 30 years. I had met a pianist and I was taking lessons and she invited me to come and sit in with her and her band just to sing 2 songs or something. And I was so excited, but I was so nervous. I got up on that stage. I started singing in the wrong key. And I started singing the second verse and they looked at me and the pianist, she was trying so hard to help me. And the only thing I could do was just be quiet and let them play. And then I finally got back on track and I came in. But that was so jolting and embarrassing. I did not sing in public for the next 10 years.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. For the next 10 years, I did not sing in public. And what got me started again was my youngest daughter was, starting school. And there was a karaoke bar across the street. And, motherhood sometimes is not all that it's cracked up to be. And sometimes I would just need to get out. I just need to get out.
Right.
And so I would go over there to the karaoke bar and I didn't even know they had karaoke. And I'm like, oh, I could sing that song, And so I started with karaoke and over about a year's time, I said, wow, I think I'm ready to go back. But for 10 years straight, I didn't sing in church. I didn't sing out loud anywhere. I was totally traumatized by that.
I just forced myself, even if it was horrible, painful, because the thing that I did realize, it was always, everything was fine after the first song.
Yes.
It's the first song.
Yes. You finally.
And then you're cool.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
And you start to connect with people because there are some people who are listening, and I like to sing to folks. I like to sing to folks, and that generally keeps their attention.
Have you ever had ever had an heckler?
Not really, but I've had folks who really wanted to get up and sing with me, and they have done so. They've done so, and at first, I was like, okay, and now I'll put the mic right there, and I'll say, give so-and-so a hand. What's your name? And where are you from? And I just bring them right into the act. And then I said, give so-and-so a hand. And then I gently guide them back to their seat.
Guide them back.
Yes, because I've had people want to stay up and sing the whole song. And they when they feel that gentle moving, I actually built a studio band setup in my apartment as well, so that the musicians, I could get them to come over and rehearse.
Nice.
Musicians don't like to rehearse. Some of them, They don't like to rehearse. They think they know all the songs, or they're like, just give me a chart and I can do that.
And it doesn't work like that.
It does not.
And the thing that really, it just boils my blood. If I'm going to work with you to record something, and I give you the material beforehand, you need to show up prepared.
Yes.
And the number of people that come unprepared.
Yes.
And I'm not very graceful with that. You can really tell I'm annoyed. I'm very short. And I'm ready to punch you in your face. Because it's just like, why are you wasting time?
Yeah, yeah. I've called out wrong notes because I hear very well. I'm still working on my theory so that I can tell you if that's supposed to be a D minor or whatever. But I hear wrong notes, and musicians know by the expression on my face. And I'm like, Leo, I'll get it. I said, okay. I just want to make sure.
Had it when you came How about that? I mean,
well, I think sometimes we can be a different breed. I grew up in the Girl Scouts. Were you a scout?
I didn't do too well with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. My brothers did better with that. I hated it.
Well, being in the country, and my parents were always looking for some activity for us to do. We were in the Girl Scouts, my brothers in the Boy Scouts and Brownies, and we were in the band and the forensic team, and my brother played football. My other brother was in the band. And I learned that preparation is everything.
Everything.
There's even a song in Girl Scouts, be prepared. I'm like, okay. And I've had people ask me, I've had one musician ask me one time, she said, Leah, were you ever a Girl Scout? I said, girl, damn, Skippy. She's like, I could tell. I was like, okay, all right.
It's funny because I preferred the Girl Scouts because my sister, all her friends would come over and they would cook and make cookies and things. So I'd be hanging out like a little rat on the side, waiting for the spoils, the crumbs.
Yes.
And they were just more interesting to me, just listening to their conversation, just the ebb and flow of their conversations versus the boys would just sit there like, let's make a fire.
There was a lot of discipline that came through that organization that I credit to some of my own habits now, and my mom, of course. My mom, she was big on discipline.
Well, my mom was a Girl Scout leader. My father was a Cub Scout leader.
Oh, all right. You were right there.
I couldn't get away if I wanted to.
You were right there in the middle of it.
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And how I managed to weasel out of being a Cub Scout, I'll never know, especially since my father was like a den father. I just guess they saw like this one is not going to work. And they just kind of let me go.
Yeah. I remember my den mother. It wasn't my mom, but another parent, and I always thought that was a cool job, But I liked the Scouts. It gave us something to do, and plus, like I said, we were, low income, and so anything that was positive like that was free. My parents jumped on, and we got to go to camp in the summer and all those kinds of things, and it was great. Yeah.
So, what are you working on now?
Right now, I'm working on finishing a children's book that I've written, that I wrote several years ago, and but I'm illustrating it.
Nice.
The book, the topic is what has been a little challenging to get it published, and it's because it's about breastfeeding. When I was having my babies, I was big on breastfeeding, but not big on weaning, and so I went to look for a book for children that would explain that this is what is the next step part of growing up. There was nothing. There were only mechanical books for parents to try to do this, as like, you learn a recipe. It wasn't anything centered around the child. So I wrote a children's book in rhyme for the child so that they could understand that this was a rite to passage. And I wrote it for my youngest daughter. When I went to wean her, she had caught a cold, and she was like a year old, because I was committed to be at least a year. She caught a cold. Doctor's like, no, this is not the time. Let her keep let her keep nursing so that she gets over the cold. Well, by that time, She was like, "You're not taking this from me." And I have to say that as a mother, and I think most mothers who breastfeed for a while will get this. You really develop an attachment to that time together. There's such bonding that happens. And so I ended up nursing her for 2 years. And I was like a little desperate to figure out how to wean her. So I wrote the book. And every time she'd want to nurse, I said, let's go get our book, because it's dedicated to her. And we'd read the book. It's a lap book. So she'd sit on my lap. We'd read it. And because it's written in rhyme, she could memorize it. Right. We'd read it together because 2 years old, she couldn't read. And so I'm working on getting that published this year. All right. And I'll probably self-publish. I'll probably self-publish.
Nowadays,
that's yeah. Just like I did with my 2 CDs. I made 2 music CDs, and I self-produced.
Yeah. So how has that been?
That's been pretty good.
I find it gratifying.
Very, very gratifying when it's your own and you have control
over what it is.
Yeah.
And how you're presented to the public.
Very much. Yeah. I've always enjoyed being the band leader. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, used to say, I like running it, not running around in it. And that's kind of my saying too. Yeah. I run it. I don't run around in it.
Right.
But then I have created such a structure that you would want to run around in it. You're good. Musicians, they know when I say we're starting at 3 o'clock, we start at 3 o'clock. When I tell them the music is here, the music is there.
Yeah.
And there's none of this fumbling stuff.
But that's why I also liked working or being part of a band more so than a solo artist. Because a band, you grow together.
Yes.
And so when you sit down, you know exactly what needs to be done. Blah, 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 blah. What I found, and that's when I came back to New York, bringing people in, it ain't always easy.
It's not.
And a lot of it is behavior.
Well, I've gotten really good at pairing people, because I'm really sensitive to people's
energies, right.
And I'm very good at pairing folks and musicians, not just to get a good sound, but I have to have camaraderie.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm used to that family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like we were a family.
Right.
The band is a family.
Right. I've worked in bands where that wasn't the case, and it just wasn't fun.
When it just wasn't good, it's not good.
Yeah.
It could be really treacherous.
But I didn't start singing, to get back to your other question, I didn't start singing professionally until like 2010.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Because after I'd finished raising my children and had kind of gotten over my fear, got back into music. I didn't do music for a long time professionally. I would sing at friends' weddings and stuff like that because I was busy building my commercial career and my modeling career. So that took over some time.
And that takes time.
It does take time.
Yeah.
It does take time. Yeah, yeah. But I was able to finally get that solid. And then after my divorce, I'm like, okay, what do I want to do now? And I knew I've been waiting to do my music. I'd really gotten to a point where I was like,
it's like
I'm
they say
ready.
You have a song in your soul.
Yeah.
You have to get out. You have to let it out. Get it out.
I came to New York. I came to Harlem 15 years ago.
Ah, okay.
And that's when I started working in the clubs and doing the music and meeting musicians. I've got quite a Rolodex now.
I might have to call you.
You have to call me.
The club situation is different now.
Yeah.
There aren't as many.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to forge a path in this situation where it works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like being relatively unknown because there's a niche there.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Me. You know what I mean? Like we were saying earlier, everybody's not Beyonce.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be.
No.
You know what I mean? But I like the intimacy of my network. And I let everybody know I'm a singer for hire now. I do work with the musicians too. If I'm called to put the band together, I can do that. But more so than not, these days, I get a call from musicians that have worked with me and know the caliber of what I bring. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take that gig. You know, I don't have to carry any equipment.
Nice.
You know, I don't have
That's
to.
The best part about being a singer.
Listen, oh my gosh.
Although I have my own mic.
I have my own mic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have my own mic.
I've been to too many gin-soaked joints.
Yeah.
Bad smelling.
Yeah. Exactly.
Lipstick all over. Like,
yes. Oh. Yes. And there are a lot of places that used to not have a back line.
Yeah.
So I bought my own PA system. Mm-hmm. So I was lugging that and, mm-hmm. you know, setting up mics and that kind of thing. You know, I had my board so that the musicians could come and not necessarily have to bring a separate mic or amp, but, you know, most mm-hmm. times they did. And I got to know the business like that, right. You know. Mm-hmm. But now I like it when somebody calls me and says, Leah, are you available?
Just come on down.
Come on down.
Nice. So what do you plan for the future?
Well,
what would be your ideal plan for the future?
I want to do more voiceover work. Mm-hmm. I've done quite a bit already, especially since COVID, mm-hmm. Where they weren't doing a lot of on camera. They just were not shooting the commercials.
Right.
And so I started booking a lot of on voiceover jobs. Mm-hmm. You'll hear me, but you don't see me. And that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Also.
That's pretty mm-hmm. cool. And then with the booth that I built because of COVID, I have a system where I can be connected to any studio in the world. In the world. So often I'll be talking to producers in California, mm-hmm. and we're, you know, doing the recording, doing everything like that. And I like that flexibility because then if I really did decide I wanted to be a snowbird and go down south for a few months, a year, I could do it.
You'd be sitting in your bikini on the mic.
On the beach, yes.
On the mic.
Yes.
Well, yes. Leah, this has been definitely a pleasure.
Earl, thank you for inviting me.
To know you better.
Yes. And we're neighbors.
I know.
We're neighbors. I'm just downtown.
I
mean, I'm like downtown Harlem. No, I'm in Harlem.
Yes.
I'm in Harlem. And so, you know, it's nice to be able to meet folks that you see or you've heard of. And you're like, oh, yeah, right. We're mm-hmm. neighbors right down the mm-hmm. block. So
there's
good.
A lot of people here.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. I didn't know mm-hmm. that when I first came. I actually got a chance to meet the flautist.
Bobby Humphrey?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen her in a while.
I haven't seen her in a while either. I hope she's feeling better. I knew she was ill for a while.
Yes, I used to see her all the time.
She actually, when I was playing, I did once a month, I would do an R&B set mm-hmm. at Chez Lucien, mm-hmm. which was the place that was next door to Red Rooster.
Right.
And she would come in and she'd sit there. One day she came up, pulled out her flute, and sat in with us. Oh my God. I was like, did anybody get that on film? I haven't found it yet, but it was so wonderful. It was such a compliment.
Yeah.
It was such a compliment mm-hmm. that she would do that.
And it's funny you mentioned her because I thought about her. I'm like, I haven't seen her because I'd love mm-hmm. to get her here.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's an artist that I listened to when I was a kid.
Right, exactly.
And
Roy Ayers, Bobby Humphrey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To come to Harlem and meet these people, mm-hmm. folks from BT Express, remember that band?
Oh my God.
To meet these people
mm-hmm.
face to face and then even have an opportunity to play with them, it was magic.
Well, it's cool when you talk to these people. It's just like, wow. It's like a history in the making.
Yes.
But anyway. Say goodbye.
I want to say goodbye, but before we do, can I plug my website?
Oh, please.
Just in case, if you want to find out where I am and what I'm doing, LadyLeah.net.
Yes.
Lady Leah, LadyLeah.net.
Yes. And check her out.
Thank you.